everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful fall in Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist
Podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, we're, I just sort of noticed that it's been a little while since David Silverman was fired from American Atheists.
Yeah.
And in that time, nobody sort of, there is nobody sort of at our collective pulpit preaching to the world about atheism.
It's interesting, yeah.
And thought that maybe we could kind of just talk about, that vacuum.
Leadership and that sort of thing.
And not that we were great followers of David Silverman here on this show, but we liked the fact that he was there and that he was getting out there in front of the world.
I don't know if I liked it. We'll talk about that at the end.
Okay. Well, there we go.
Is that juicy enough to?
Oh yeah. What a tease,
Oh,
Dan.
yeah.
You're such a tease.
You never know what's going to happen here. It's madness.
All right. Well, Dan.
Yeah.
I've got a travel destination for you.
You do?
Yeah. A country that has been closed to most foreign tourism.
Oh.
Has actually decided they are opening their borders.
Is it that island off of India where that guy got killed for wanting to do missionary
They
work?
opened up an Airbnb
Nice.
in one of the huts. No, Dan.
What's that?
Saudi Arabia.
Ooh.
They've opened up to 52 countries now that can apply for visas for tourists to go in. And as part of this whole new tourism push, they are dropping the dress code for foreign women entering the country.
Interesting.
And you don't have to basically for an American to have gone there, like a non-Muslim American to have gone to Saudi Arabia in the past. Either you would have had to be getting in on some kind of military thing or official state thing, State Department thing. Or there's oil industry
Probably
type stuff.
Journalism, maybe.
Who
knows?
It was for official reasons.
Right.
Work reasons or government reasons, military type stuff. That was it.
Yeah.
Well, now Americans can apply to get a visa and go. And they're doing this huge fucking push. They want people to come. And the foreign women will not have to wear an abaya. That's the flowing cloak that covers and hides all shapeliness. And, of course, there was hijab. Well, not hijab, but full hair covering.
Headscarf.
Head wear, whatever.
Yeah.
This is all part of the Crown Prince Mohammed, whatever his name is, his bin Salman, his push to diversify their economy.
Interesting.
And they like the idea of foreigners coming in and leaving dollars
because as we've said before on this show, the writing is on the wall for oil.
Yeah.
You got to diversify now.
But it really kind of sort of. I mean, the article is doubtful. It's from Bloomberg. They're sort of doubtful that people are going to be rushing to go to Saudi Arabia on
it's not
vacation.
It hasn't just rocketed up to the top of my list, personally.
But it does pose this really interesting question of there are always these travelers who will want to go just because it has been off limits for so long.
What's funny is I didn't even know that it was off limits. It was just never something it was never on my radar in terms of hey, where it'd be cool for tourism?
Yeah, no.
Saudi.
No. I mean, I doubt you're going to be able to go to Mecca and snap, pictures in front of the.
Oh, now that's all I want to
do. The rock thing.
I want to put on the worst American tourist outfit I can think of,
the Kaaba.
Cargo shorts and socks with sandals and a Hawaiian shirt.
Right.
And go with a camera around my neck and just click, click. Oh, okay, show me everybody walks in a circle. What do you do? Can you do it for me? Show me you doing it. Do it for me.
I'm going.
Click, 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 click.
Okay. Now, where am I supposed to throw the rock?
I'm going to throw a rock. Can I throw a rock?
Here's me posing with the rock.
Honey, get in here and throw a rock. Oh, no women? Oh, it's fine. Come on, honey, get in here.
I think women can throw rocks.
I don't think women do the things
What?
at Mecca. I think that's for men.
I don't know about that.
You're doubting? Wait a minute. I just said there's misogyny in the thing, and you're like,
I think men and women participate in Hajj.
I think they participate differently. I think only the men do
Certain things?
the main things.
Oh.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah. Oh, anyway.
Somebody's going to write to us. We'll find out.
Obviously, I mean, I say that they dropped their dress code. It's not a full dropping. There's not going to be like bikinis allowed at the beaches.
Hard hats are still required at all times.
But they, as long as you're sort of basically covered and modest, quote unquote, modest, they're going to allow you in. And then they're going to.
What about shoulders?
Accept your
ladies'
money.
Shoulders. That's probably not okay.
I would guess that shoulders are not going to be super cool.
They're not hip to that.
And you know there'll probably be something like you can get away with, you know, walking down the street that way, but they're not going to let you in anywhere. You know, because how are they going to have
I just wonder, like the first women, the first tourists,
the
first waves of tourists that go in. Are the people going to know that this is okay, or are like tourist women going to get stoned in the streets?
I don't know. I don't know Saudi, culture how it works. You know, I mean, and this is
won't
just
it be fun to find out?
Well, I mean, for an adventurous traveler,
oh my God,
I wouldn't want to go.
No,
I'd be terrified the entire time.
Well, we're men, so it's easier, but.
No, but also noted atheist.
Yeah, exactly. You and I could be very much arrested if we just went there.
We'd have to check with the State Department.
Floggings. We'd have to have.
Wouldn't it be fun? We'd go to Saudi Arabia.
Okay, new Patreon goal. once
Frank and Dad to Saudi Arabia.
Once we hit
if you guys really like us,
or if you really don't like us, give way more, and we have to go to Saudi Arabia. If you like us, go to Patreon and give us some money. If you hate us, give way, way, way more, and then we go to Saudi Arabia. Okay. Speaking of the Middle East,
that's funny,
and the Arabian Peninsula, there have been conspiracies happening there. Pope Francis. Conspiring with Sheikh Ahmed Tayeb, who's the Grand Imam of the Al Azhar Mosque in Cairo.
Oh, okay.
They've been plotting and scheming.
What are they doing?
And what they've come up with? Well, so what they've come up with is what they've called the Abrahamic Family House.
Okay.
This is part of an initiative that they're doing to try and heal the wounds of humanity, to bridge the rifts in the world.
Okay.
What they're calling it the Human Fraternity for World Peace and Living Together. A clunky name for an initiative, but okay. They're going to build a complex in United Arab Emirates.
Okay.
Of a mosque, a church, and a synagogue all together.
Whoa.
And by the way, as a person who appreciates architecture, I think you can see it's going to be fucking gorgeous.
Wow. Interesting.
Will
this thing sort of like self-bomb itself?
Right?
Is that part of this process?
I think they have
a program.
They don't show it in the rendering, but I think on the roofs there will be mortars to be lobbing.
Because I mean, that would be the true representation of these three,
Well, it does.
It's all sitting in the same space.
I don't see any targets painted on any of them, but I mean, it's implied.
Okay.
No, but
interesting though.
But yeah, UAE we talk about how Saudi is trying to get into the whole, look at how open we are. Look at, we let women drive now and foreigners don't have to wear headscarves and whatnot. UAE's been sort of on the front of that because they created Dubai
Right.
out of nothing so that it would just be a center for international commerce. That's all they cared about. That's all they wanted. And they wanted to make sure that everybody felt welcome because everybody has money. All the different religions have money.
Right.
So that's all they care about, which I think they're taking a page from our American book on that front. So yeah, they're actually building this thing that's going to be 3 huge buildings. And yeah, they're that's going to happen apparently.
Yeah, I mean,
the architect Sir David Adjaye, who is the guy who designed the National Museum of African American History on the mall, which I hear is stunning, an awesome museum. I didn't even hear about the architecture. I just heard the museum itself is amazing.
Oh wow!
But yeah, he's the one that did the that's doing the architecture, and it looks like it's going to be really interesting. And there was even talk of non-believers being welcome there. So wow, you guys pick your poison. You get to go to one or all 3,
Or none.
or just go or none. Yeah, I guess
There's a little plaza you can hang out in.
yeah.
A little pit. They have a pit they're willing to throw you in. Non-believers, come here. This is your space.
Yeah, the grounds actually
They all agree. Throw them in the pit.
the grounds do look like they'll be nice. So you never can tell. Who knows? They're ushering in a world of no. That's not going to change anything. But at least
It's
what though?
It's actually it's a nice gesture.
It's a lovely gesture,
Right.
and the fact that the Pope's the highest visibility Christian figure in the world.
So
and the fact that he's leading this is actually important.
So here's the deal. It is a church, a mosque, and a synagogue.
Walk into a bar.
But
Oh yeah.
there are different strains of all of these things.
Right. And
Right.
and this is actually an anti-extremist gesture as well.
Okay.
All of the participants in this are saying, fuck the extremists in all of our
Right.
religions.
But is it going to be a Catholic cathedral, or is it
No, it says it uses the
Pope
word
is like
church.
doing
So
a
I think it's
non-denominational?
I think it's just Christian.
Is the Pope giving money toward this? Who's paying for this thing?
I don't know.
The UAE itself?
I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's fine, Dan.
Okay, good. I'm glad you approve. At least to the level of fine.
It's fine. That's fine. Whatever. Oh, Dan.
What?
Oh, God, this country of ours. This seems to be... God, I don't even want to talk about this. But it's something that's popping up in a few legislatures around the country in conservative places like North Carolina, South Carolina, Wyoming,
East Carolina,
Kansas,
West Carolina.
They all have members of their state legislatures that are running bills to ban gay marriage in their state and that direct their local government, their state government, to ignore the Supreme Court decision on marriage equality.
Okay.
And
let me tell you something. This smacks of, I don't know if your story is directly, if it links directly to them, but this smacks of a Project Blitz sort of thing.
It does, yeah. And the article doesn't mention Project Blitz, and I didn't look up to see if it's on their list of things. But the fact that it's definitely part of that mentality,
right,
of let's run a lot of things in all the conservative legislatures. Let's let's send up test cases to the Supreme Court,
right,
and let's get decisions that are going to change.
Right, exactly. The idea is we flout the law so that someone sues us, so that we can try and get new decisions now that the court looks different.
Yes, exactly. And
because make no mistake, this is the law of the land.
oh yeah,
Like what they're doing is just sort of waving their dick at what has been decided as constitutional law.
yeah, I know. It's really disturbing. But in North Carolina, which is where this story was based, it's House Bill 65 is what they're pushing. It's the Marriage Reaffirmation Amendment Act. It would ban marriage equality. And in addition to that, it labels marriages between two people of the same sex as parity marriages.
Officially good.
Officially, that
Great.
would be what they would call it. It states that marriage equality negates the scientifically obvious biology of the human species, and is part of the religion of secular humanism.
Yeah, they're very much into the science of the whole thing.
Oh, they love science.
That's they're very clearly up on all of the good science.
I actually like to hear Republicans talking about science for once.
Well, it's nice to hear them. They're not talking about science. They're using the word science. That's different.
Yeah. I want to know what scientists are ignoring the fact that homosexuality occurs in how many species?
All the species?
I don't think it's all, but we have evidence of it in like species after species after species.
Yeah.
Right. And so like,
especially our own. And guess what?
That should be all the proof we need.
That's all you need.
Like,
we don't need to.
Even if it didn't occur in nature.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. All you really need to know is it occurs in our species.
Yeah.
Plenty.
Yeah.
It's very real.
Right.
There's no denying it.
All you have to do is talk to a gay person.
Right.
And listen to their experience.
Yeah, except that talk to a gay person, that's ew.
Gross. I don't want to talk to a gay person.
What if I catch the gay? What if I get it? I don't want to get it.
It does have a tendency to
spread. No.
It's contagious, Dan.
If that were the case, I would be the gayest man in the world.
Close.
And I'm
close.
I'm so close.
But lacking the one salient detail that makes somebody gay.
Right, exactly.
But just that one.
Just the one. Everything else, I'm in fucking rehearsals for musical theater, for God's sake. It's hard to get gayer than me. Other than that whole not being into cock thing. What are you going to do?
I know.
What are you going to do? I tried, everybody. I just couldn't do it. I'm not cool enough to be gay. All right. I'm going to take us to the state of New York, in which one of the 8 Roman Catholic dioceses has declared bankruptcy.
Whoa.
Has filed for bankruptcy.
Oh, okay.
This comes after New York State passed a new law, allowing sort of suspending, and we talked about this, suspending the statute of limitations on child molestation cases.
Right.
Meaning that people from as many years back as they need to, for 1 year, they have 1 year that started in this August to file lawsuits against the Catholic Church. Why is this funny?
You have 1 year.
You got 1 year. Well, hey, at least they have that year.
I know. But why not just do away with it?
Well, I mean, statute of limitations are important in some way. I don't know. I don't know how law works. Here's what I do know.
If you're going to lift it for a year, why have it in the first place?
Here's what I know. The Archdiocese of Rochester is in fucking trouble. And more than 400 cases have been brought against them since August 14th.
That's not a long time.
No.
These people were waiting.
And they're still coming. And they're still coming. Shit. And all the other dioceses are looking at this. Not all of them, actually. The Archdiocese of New York, which I think is the one in Manhattan, and the one in Brooklyn, I think they're both saying they're fine. They're not going to be because they're like two of the wealthiest dioceses in the country.
We'll survive this.
Do
your best.
But I mean, this is tricky, right? Because
do your worst.
Because what this means is that all of the plaintiffs, it doesn't dismiss their cases, but it means that they have to sort of wait in line for their money the way all of their creditors have to wait in line for their money.
Right.
And a court then decides who gets paid and when and all of that sort of thing.
Right.
But yeah, this is going to, what this doesn't mean is that this diocese will be, selling off cathedrals left and right or anything like that.
They should.
Yeah.
I think they should be forced to.
They're not going to be closing their doors just yet. Who knows? Maybe enough cases will come around that
I don't know. Religious organizations declaring bankruptcy in order to avoid creditors.
They're not avoiding creditors.
Well,
I mean, basically they just
in order to restructure.
They have to restructure. They have
blah. I don't know. That feels kind of weird.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing that we let businesses and private individuals do. Why does a church get to?
Yeah, I mean, it's something.
I don't know. Maybe I'm
because they're an organization that I don't know. I have no problem with them being able to, and they're not immune from the lawsuits. But
like it's a way of protecting their assets. That's what I mean. Like, okay, bankruptcy, but we get to now parse everything out because you're not solvent, and we're going to dissolve you.
Yeah,
like it just feels like they get everything else.
Yeah,
right. Like
I think
why do they get? This?
Here's what I think. I think they're in trouble.
Yeah, I want them selling everything off. That's what I want.
Well, I don't.
I literally want them
that may be
off.
in the future because the thing is that yes, these lawsuits cripple them a little bit.
Yeah,
but what's really crippling is like, are their parishioners going to want to keep giving them money when where it's going is defending fucking priests who have been raping people? I wouldn't. I would think twice. Even if I were a believer, I would. I mean, it would make me think twice about. Like they're like, hey, save our cathedral. We need to save it. Why? Well, because all of our money's going.
All of the other money that you gave us.
That's already going to victims that we victimized. So,
yeah,
help.
But is that how you see it as a believer? Don't you just see it as all kind of like God's money, and you have to help God out?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
With your money.
Depends on who you are, I suppose.
Yeah. Anyway, well, here's some story about God's money. Dan.
Ooh, I like God's money.
Over there in Ireland,
there's
a company called it's called let's see, Right Bus.
Oh,
they make buses.
Okay,
right. It's owned by a company called Cornerstone Group Limited.
Okay,
and they've the shareholders of the company. There are only a few of them, right? They decided they were going to give a portion of their company to God.
Oh.
They gave 26% control and profit of their company, in their minds, to God by putting it in a trust.
Okay.
That benefits some evangelical group that they're also personally involved in.
Yeah, interesting.
In fact, it sounds like one of the guys is pivoting to being a full-time pastor.
Okay.
So
great. So basically, he's making sure that his business is funding his church.
Yes, and
of which he is a pastor.
While they justified giving 4.15 million pounds of charitable donations in 2017 to fund their commitment to Christ, they in that same year they also lost 1.7 million.
Oh, Oh, dear.
So they're doing it to the detriment of their own company.
No, they're creating a tax shelter for the money that they don't want the company to lose.
Well, they have built a evangelical super church on a 97-acre site near the factory. It sounds like somebody had like a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
Had resources, decides that he's going to become a pastor, throws money at the whole thing, and they had a net income last year of $4.34 million, 4.18 million of, or not dollars, pounds, came from individuals and corporate bodies. They ended with a 3.2 million pound surplus.
The church did?
The church did.
Yeah. That's what happens when you give all of your company's money to the church.
I guess you're right. It is a tax shelter thing.
Yeah.
But in addition to it,
I'll tell you one thing. Easy, they can get all the people to their church. They own the buses. It's easy to get there.
Isn't that amazing, though? I just love the idea of somebody like waking up one morning and either being, as you've suggested, completely crooked, right?
Yeah.
Or some combination of crooked plus a fervent believer and wanting to pivot to a new career and
I don't even think
just
they have
funding
to be,
it.
I don't even think they have to be crooked. I just think they just
that's just what happens.
Saw an opportunity and was just like, oh, I control all the money in this company, and I
Right.
really like this church, and I can make it big. Yeah, that's
Crazy, right?
There you go. Okay, good job, bus company. Way to go. Totally related. Finally, we'll close it off with the UN has been having their big shindig, their big to do.
The UN?
Yes, the United Nations. Have you heard of this organization?
I don't know.
It's a bunch of it's sort of a wacky group of countries that just get together and party all the time.
Wow, is that what they're doing?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
no wonder there's so many people who hate the UN.
right, exactly. The showstopper of this particular UN meeting was, of course, their climate change summit, to which they invited that plucky young Swede teenager, what's her name? Greta Thornson or whatever.
Van Susteren.
Nope, definitely not her. So our president, the president of these United States, of whom we are all so very proud.
He's a great man.
He attended this climate summit just for a little teensy bit, poked his head in, said hello, and then skedoodled over to his own summit, to what the Guardian newspaper called a summit of one, which he had convened, called the Protect Religious Freedom Summit, saying that, quote, protecting religious freedom is one of my highest priorities. Now, lest you be tricked, it is absolutely not one of his highest priorities. It is one of his lowest priorities, as is evidenced by the fact that he has cut the number of refugees that we take into this country by an order of magnitude. Like, he has slashed the number of refugees that we take in.
Right.
If he cared at all about religious persecution, that number would go up, because there are so many religiously persecuted people in this world who need help and can't get it in their own countries.
Right.
So specifically mentioned, of course, were Christians in Iraq, Syria, Pakistan, Myanmar, and Sudan, and Iraq. Yeah. I said Iran. I meant Iran. I don't know what I said. Anyway, and Iraq. He also mentioned the Yazidis who were in Iraq.
Oh,
which is great. And one of the articles that I was reading about this quoted a person whose work it is to help Yazidis. Let's see.
huh.
I can't find the name. Anyway, but yeah, this person was like, yeah, it's nice. It's really great that he's actually like calling us out and saying, they need help. Unfortunately, he has dropped the number of refugees he's taken in. Oh, here it is. Free Yazidi Foundation is the name of the foundation, and the director, Pari Ibrahim, who pointed out that in fiscal year 2017 under Obama, the U.S. took in 434 Yazidi refugees. In 2018 under Trump, we took in 5. They are in no less peril. You know, Islamic State targets these people specifically,
Right.
and they're not people who are in any position to defend themselves.
Right.
Of course, you know, there are also the problems with the Uyghurs in China, which Trump isn't tremendously eager to help out either. You know, there are all the problems in Myanmar and all
Right.
that stuff. We're not actually doing anything, but Trump's sure talking about it. And all he's really doing is blowing that dog whistle to the Christians in this country who are hearing it loud and clear and saying, look, he's fucking away from China, from climate change, because that's obviously just a lie. And there's even a clip. I considered it for our little clip that we always play of Robert Jeffress,
Right.
who's talking about what a brilliant man he is to snub the climate change summit and then talk about saving the Christians.
Well, yeah, and because that's exactly it. Like, they like to hear him talking about, you know, protecting religious freedom and blah-de-blah. They don't care about the Uyghurs and the, you know,
No.
the Yazidis and the, you know, who else in the world.
They don't
Who's
even
not
care.
Christian.
They don't even care about the actual Christian. Well, those guys don't care about any of those.
Yeah,
people,
exactly.
no. But Trump himself doesn't even care about the Christians. He's not letting them
yeah,
in.
of course not.
He
Because
shipped,
that would mean that you'd be
he shipped back an Iraqi Christian
Exactly.
who was here from like 2 months old,
right.
and the guy died in Iraq because he couldn't get the medicine that he needed.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, you obviously don't care about any of these people.
They're looking for their power and freedom at home. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They're not. This is lip service at best.
Yeah, and it was and also like a really clever distraction from that whole climate change thing.
Right. Nobody noticed.
And that grumpy little teenager who's raising all that hubbub.
God.
Well, if you're a grumpy little teenager and would like to raise some hubbub with us, you can do so. Write into us, podcast at podcast or podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yep, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and smash that like button.
And while on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, but we will let you in.
Yep.
Dan,
Oh, Frank.
Coach Dave.
Here's what Coach Dave is mad about.
Oh,
I'm worried about.
He's always mad about
It's
something.
the music. It's the kids.
Music?
The kids and their gosh darn rock and roll music.
That doesn't make him sound old and or out of touch
At all. No, not at all.
or a stereotype.
I know that you, Frank, who are definitely not old and out of touch, you didn't know who Billie Eilish was, but
Well, I don't listen to popular music.
you don't listen to the young people music,
Yeah.
the kids music.
Yeah,
I, however, am super hip and everything, and
I'm sure.
totally. Anyway, Coach Dave, not on board, and he'll explain why.
Billie Eilish, 365, 451 million views. You see that, folks? The devil is out of the bottle. He's out of the bottle, and our children are watching it. You with me? You understand what's going on? Do you understand why we're playing patty cake in church and arguing over the rapture and not the rapture and over once saved, always saved, while we're inside the church fighting back and forth over meaningless drivel, over Hebrew and hermeneutics and end-time theology? The devil is stealing our children. 451 million views. Some 14-year-old girl. Now, I'm going to ask yourself this. Do you think she did it on her own? You think Billie Eilish came up with this idea on her own? Do you think this imagery and these songs and these videos, you think she just kind of did it on her own in her basement like me? Or there are great forces of dark beyond what we can even imagine that is full bore after our children. If they can't abort them, they're going to drug them. If they can't drug them, they're going to vaccinate them. If they can't vaccinate them, they're going to indoctrinate them in school. If they can't indoctrinate them in school, they're going to indoctrinate them through the media. If they can't indoctrinate them through the media, they're going to take them to the libraries and talk about homosex. Folks, the assault on the American child is at an all-time fever pitch. And those of us who carry the name of Christ, we are asleep in the light, baby.
Wow. I mean, is this just a reaction to his own irrelevancy? Like,
he's just look. You think she's doing it alone in her basement like I am? Sad and alone down here in my basement with this fucking green screen that cost me $300 behind me, and then
that's a nice one.
Sorry, $42 at Walmart behind me.
Yeah.
I can't even afford my collection of hats with crosses on them. I have to buy a hat at a truck stop and have my wife sew the cross on.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ. What amazes me is that this is just the refrain of this type of person. Generation after generation, there's some old coot who is irrelevant, who doesn't understand the society or the culture that he lives in.
Yeah.
Right? And
it's just mad.
He's just mad.
I'm so mad about it.
And so some 16-year-old girl comes along, gets way more hits, way more likes, way more upvotes, whatever it is, than he's could ever dream of getting. And it's just pissing him off.
It's so infuriating.
How is it that people are listening to her or other kids like her and not listening to him?
And she's a girl, goddammit, a girl. Yeah. For all that's good and for the love of all that's good and holy.
So it's the devil.
You know what I think it is?
I do. It must be the devil.
I think the old men are getting freaked out. Like this Greta Thunberg, whatever her name is, and Billie, like when people start listening to young women, old men go, "Ah! What's happening?" You're not supposed to look. I didn't wait till I got gray in the beard and hair just to be not listened to and have somebody listen to something that's got a uterus. God damn it!
Right. I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy town.
So
poor Coach Dave.
Coach Dave is so sad, you guys. Maybe you should all write him a letter. I think you should all write him a letter and tell him how sorry you are.
I'm sorry you're old and irrelevant.
That he's old and irrelevant.
And that's those two things don't have to go hand in hand.
And tell him you know what?
We know that.
Go on vacation, man. Yeah. It's okay. You know what? Go out and find your value in the world. It's probably not yelling into the void of the internet so that, other podcasters can make fun of you. That's probably not your calling, man. I mean, I know you don't get to coach football anymore, but...
Oh, poor Coach Dave. Was he actually a coach?
Yeah. You don't remember? We reported on the story that made him famous, which was just that he was a football, like a high school football coach who wanted to pray a lot.
Oh.
They wouldn't let him, and he just parlayed that tiny bit of Christian fame into his own basement TV show. for which he has a viewership that's probably way higher than ours.
I know.
So now we're
our bedroom radio show.
We're shitting on him for shitting on Billie Eilish, and we're just like, we don't have anybody listening either, Dave.
Not true. He
Anyway,
probably does have a better reach than we do.
we do have some folks that wrote into us, that called into us. We should acknowledge that there are some people that do listen to this show.
Yeah.
Will wrote into us. This was in reference to our conversation last week about you being so snooty about your goddamn bike riding all the time.
Oh God.
And how holier than thou you are about.
Oh, that's totally how I've presented myself. If you feel that, there's something that's more about you.
I don't
than about
feel
me.
that. I'm
Dan.
kidding. It's a joke. Anyway, Will starts out, Kia ora, Frank and Dan. Don't know what that means. Is that a New Zealand thing? Anyway, a letter from your Kiwi vegan listener. Because you remember, Frank, we talked about one of the things that we talked about was
Doing what you can do.
doing well. And
Is that what
and
you're heading
no,
for?
we talked about sort of trying to get other people to care and why we care. And
Sure.
and,
Right. Okay. All right.
and like who, one of the things that I liked about that conversation was that we got to, and I didn't even know we were going to get to this, but the idea of, giving people some space to not have the bandwidth for your pet.
Yes. Doing what you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting as far as you can get.
Yeah.
And then pushing yourself to go a little bit further, but realizing that like your passion for your deal isn't everyone's passion.
And not
for
everybody's
your deal.
going to fall in.
And not even good people
behind you
aren't going to be able to.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. I think so. Will goes on. Will says, I think why we care and how we can convince people that they should care is a fascinating question and not one that I can answer. Climate crisis is definitely an issue which I think people struggle to find the bandwidth for. My council has been busy installing new cycle lanes which hardly get used. I get to zoom past all the backed up traffic in my own personal lane now.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, people's attitudes towards them is not to get on a bike, but instead to complain about all the parking spots which have been removed in order to build them.
Oh, that makes me crazy. Yeah, but yeah, that's true.
Hey, parking is hard. It can be tough to find a parking space.
Yeah, just walk a little.
Yeah.
Park where you can and walk.
I think we should definitely, this is Will again, I think we should definitely try to convince people to care, whether that be about poverty, the environment, freedom of and freedom from religion, LGBT plus rights, animal suffering, gun law, or all of the above and everything I forgot to list. But of course, we also need to accept them where they're at. Not accepting people where they are will come across as angry and instead push people away from caring. Of course, we should be angry at the state of all these things, but not towards the people who we are trying to convince to care. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tricky. We're not going to solve all of the world's problems.
You and me,
or anybody. No individual is going to do it. And I do think that like really pushing your issue is probably saying more about you than it is about like your issue or whatever. Like when you force when you can't believe that other people aren't jumping on this. How dare they? Maybe you need to examine some things about you in that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's all important. It is all important.
It is all important.
But we
like literally, like.
So if you have the bandwidth to get out there and do some activism, great.
Activism or just actively changing something,
doing your part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that is, I mean, it's nice to have the activists out there who are, keeping issues in the public's eye, right? And keeping these issues alive and part of our discourse and everything, because it's going to help people along on their path, hopefully,
right,
toward changing some of their behaviors,
right.
But it is not required to be an activist. I think that
No.
all that it's not required. There's no way to enforce it, but all that people should be doing is, like we've said before, and like you just said, finding those things that they can do.
Yeah.
Right. That they can introduce into their life, or, I mean, the thing that you don't have to go vegan, you don't have to go vegetarian. You can just cut out one night a week, not even eating meat.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in a household, it wasn't a meal, and this is probably most American households. It's not a meal if there's no meat.
Right.
Right. And so to have meals that are meatless.
Yeah. You do a meatless Monday or whatever, and then...
Yeah, these are the little things that you can do. It's just like one meal a week, not meat. And then once you're used to that, maybe you can do two, It's not required that you do all the things.
Right.
And we've said that, and we've said it ad nauseum at this point, but whatever.
I'm not nauseated. We had a voicemail, if I could recall.
We do have a voicemail message. This was in response to a poll that we brought up.
Oh,
And
okay.
We proposed a theory about the poll and why the results were that, it kind of found that, like, Christian or religious folk experience less anxiety or something along those lines than non-believers.
Yeah, something like that.
Something along those lines. Anyway, we had a theory. This caller also has a theory, and I think it's totally interesting and probably fairly accurate.
Cool.
Hi, Frank and Dan. I wanted to call about a poll that you guys covered a couple episodes ago about how Christians are supposedly less depressed and anxious than atheists and agnostics. I just wanted to add a little bit to that. As fellow Mormons, or former Mormons, as I heard Dan put it once, I'm sure you guys are familiar with how the church treats mental illness or talks about it. I remember the idea that if I was anxious or depressed, it was my fault for not loving Jesus enough. And in the end, it turned out that Jesus wasn't the one who could help me with my anxiety and depression. Her name is Amy, and she's a therapist, and she taught me that I can live with my illness and manage it, rather than, Jesus said away magically. So I just thought maybe, there's a bias in that poll where, Christians don't believe that they're depressed, because if they dared to believe that, it just means they're not Jesusing hard enough, which is so sad to me personally. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there and hear your guys' thoughts. Love the show. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. Your claim is that somehow there are believers out there who aren't checking in with reality, who aren't 100% like thinking it. I just can't buy it.
Yeah.
Having been to Utah County, having been to Provo, Utah, I know that every Mormon is very, very happy.
They're very happy.
All of the time.
They have to be happy.
They're required.
Yeah. And talk about a people who like their antidepressants. Ironically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting thing, isn't it? That like even admitting to just a pollster that you don't know anonymously that you're depressed, it may well be that more Christians are underreporting their depression and anxiety because they would see it as a failure of their personal faith.
Yeah.
If they,
I think that's
possible.
And I know that feeling from way back when, right? Not even being able to admit things to yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So I think she's totally onto something there.
Maybe. There you go. Do we have some folks to thank this week?
We do have people to thank, Dan.
Oh, good.
Let's see. We have 2 new faithful listeners.
Okay.
Carmen and Michael.
Oh.
Thanks to the both of you. We also have 2 new venerable listeners, Al and Tim.
Oh.
Thank you, guys.
Glory.
And we also have 1 new beatified listener.
Oh.
Ken.
Well, praise to ye.
What? this is fantastic.
Amazeballs.
And this puts us, let's see, what would that be? Not very far, just like 11 new patrons away from our next goal.
So guys, we're so close.
Really,
Get us
really,
there.
yeah.
It's
We're
on
getting
you.
So close.
We have one more person to thank.
As always, our Lord and Savior, our top donor, Hannah.
Amazing, Hannah, you're amazing. Everyone who decides to give to us, all you have to do to be one of these people, help us reach our goal, is to go to thankonamatheist.com. Click on the Patreon thing on the right-hand side of the thing. It's the only thing that looks like an ad on our entire website. And it's not an ad, it's an ad for us.
Yeah.
So you're safe to click it. It'll take you to our Patreon page. You sign up at whatever level you can afford.
Yep.
Give till it hurts, and then if you we totally understand if you can't. This show's free for you anyway.
Yeah.
But if you can't, maybe you can give us 5 stars on one of your various and sundry things.
Listening apps.
The iTunes, the Stitchers, whatever.
That'd be fantastic.
All of them.
We always appreciate it.
If you're an enterprising person. And we thank you greatly.
Thank you so much. Dan.
Yo.
The leadership of the atheist movement. The atheist movement.
Yeah, not
right?
atheism. We don't. We're not a religion, so we don't have. Leadership in terms of our belief system or anything.
Oh dear God, no.
No. But there is a movement. There's a political movement to sort of safeguard we atheists, the nuns, the whatever.
Lots of groups.
Yeah.
All working on various levels of people who work locally, people who have more of a national scope,
Yeah.
and then of course, you have those great folks over at the FUFERF.
Yeah.
And doing the Lord's work.
Sure.
So to speak.
Yeah, the question becomes, who is it that is, do we need leadership? We have, for the longest time, we had that, you mentioned David Silverman at the top of the show.
And he was sort of the de facto leader, right?
Kind of. I mean, at very least, he was going out and he was appearing on Fox News and sort of staring down, back when there was such a thing as Bill O'Reilly.
Oh yeah,
he was.
He's not a thing now either, is he?
Appearing on that show and stuff, and he's putting up controversial billboards and then getting press for it, and then going on the circuit and doing the press junkets and whatever. And I always thought, this is of dubious value to our movement, because usually it was like he'd just stir the shit pot. Yeah. And then yell at people and let them yell at him, and always I don't know, it always seemed he was, to my mind, always like not who I really wanted representing me.
Fair enough, and I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So, but at the exact same time, I think there was value in him in sort of his activities. Right. I think there's value in...
He definitely,
made the word out there, atheist.
There was
atheism,
a visibility thing that he was good at.
And I think that, the billboards, as obnoxious as they can be at times, also, though, it's that, it's visibility, right?
Yeah.
And there is value in that. I never was, dear leader about him or anything, but he didn't represent my brand, right? My brand of atheist.
And when he was fired from American Atheist, ostensibly for some misconduct with some ladies, it was no huge loss to me. But it was a huge loss in the sense of we had someone who was working on visibility.
Yeah.
And you know, the work of American Atheists as an organization presses forward.
Yes.
They've definitely taken a different tack. Their new president, Nick Fish, I met at the American Atheist Convention a few months back. Seems like a nice enough guy. I didn't really talk about the direction the organization is going. But yeah, I mean, the question becomes leadership. Do we need it? Do we want it? And if we do, what do we want?
I'm leery of like leadership of the movement, right? Like I know that like people need to like coordinate their efforts, and I like the idea of like lots of groups working, but I don't know, like because we all are sort of, you know, because there is no singular cohesive thing. It's just we all have accepted, you know, the non-existence of God, right? That and there's not much more than that. Like, I feel kinship to other atheists. I've never felt like I belong to, outside of what we've sort of created here at the podcast. I've never really felt like I belong to a community.
Well,
right.
That's interesting. I guess I do feel, I mean, having, since you and I have gone out into the world and we've met people who listen to this show, and we've met, you know, with atheist groups around the country and that sort of thing, I do feel like there's a community. But also, I feel like there is a group of people who need protecting.
Yeah.
There's a group of people who are an increasing number of our world, who aren't having a voice, and the majority, you know, in this country it's Christians. In other countries it may be, you know, Muslims or whatever. They have a huge voice, and our voice gets drowned out or not heard. So it feels to me like I think we do need some dynamic leaders. We need some people speaking for us out there in the world. The problem is, those types of people tend not to be chosen. They tend to arise.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes it's great, you know, when the civil rights movement, you know, when Martin Luther King rose to the top, that's great. I think he was a very good leader. But, you know, we've had some problematic ones in our little movement. We've had some people who, you know, Sam Harris is a very well-spoken guy. He's a very smart guy. And then he gets a few things, he rubs a bunch of people the wrong way. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of these people, you know, Richard Dawkins is a very smart man and a very, you know, often very well-spoken guy. Yeah. But also, you know, somebody needs to take away his Twitter because he's ruining everybody's lives with his Twitter. So it's just like, what we need is someone who's skilled at the politics of the thing. Yeah. Someone who is, and God bless, I would so much love it if it were a woman. In part just because then the likelihood of there being a Me Too scandal is lower, at least. Oh my God. Anywho, but regardless of who it is, I would want someone who, I do want someone to step forward who's able to help the rest of, because what we don't want is someone to get out there and say, the rest of this country, the Christian part of this country, are our enemies, and we're going to fight you tooth and nail. What I want is someone who can get out there and say, this country's for everybody. We want you to feel comfortable, and we want us to feel comfortable, and let's find ways to make that happen. And I think I think that's what's been missing. I don't feel like I've seen that coming from our side of things.
It's more like we always have a wartime leader.
Yeah,
up till now,
consigliere. Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, and the problem is that it is a war, and we need people fighting that war because right now, because the other side's fighting us. Yeah, and they're fighting us very hard. Right. So we need people fighting the war, but in terms of our front person, in terms of our front people, the leaders, the visible people, I don't think that's what we need. I don't think we need warriors in the visible positions. I think we need diplomats.
Right.
And I haven't seen it. I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
People who can capture the imagination of people who aren't in our group.
Yeah.
And make them say, "Oh, that person's a good person, and that person believes something that I don't believe, and that person's reasonable, and maybe I could listen to that person."
Right.
As opposed to, "I reject you outright," sort of thing.
Yeah, I just don't know that I need a person for the movement to coalesce around, or even just a small group of people. Like I feel like the groups that are doing their work can do their work and lead on specific issues and certain aspects of the overall movement. We're seeing people leave religion in huge numbers, and it has nothing to do with didn't have anything to do really with David Silverman or anybody who's like, you know what I mean? Like, people are coming to these realizations on their own. I mean, like, I was texting with my niece, who I don't even know if she's atheist or not. We didn't really get that far, but she's left the Mormon church.
Okay.
Right.
Sure.
And she, the way she was taught, I was like, "Oh, did you get your hands on the CES letter?" And, so forth and so on. And just like, "Well, what have you read?" And she's like, "I didn't. I just kind of thought my way out of it."
Yeah.
Right. Like, this never made sense to me. This never made sense to me. And then I just kind of realized that it no, it's bullshit. Right?
Wait a minute. What if it's just not true?
Right. And sometimes people just have a brain, right? And they just kind of think about it and stop caring about all the social pressures, right? And they just leave their churches and whatnot. So we have these people who are falling out of religion right now. And I just don't think that, okay, so the right might be always coming after us. I just think that we all just have to we're going to win the numbers game, right? In my mind.
Eventually, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe.
No, I think we will. I mean,
the trend lines are certainly pointing in that direction.
Right. And I think that as long as, again, we have these groups that are working on the issues of real religious freedom, which is also freedom from religion, and working toward a secular, society where our government works in ways that recognize, that non-religion. Right.
Well, and that says
like as long as we are working on that, and we have groups working on that, I don't need a leader. I don't want a leader. It feels icky to me. That feels like what I left was having a leader. Right.
Yeah, I think that leaders, maybe we need a different word, but I think that mouthpieces, having good people out there articulating important messaging, is really important.
Oh, fantastic. But that could be a series of people. That could be, like, I think it's dangerous for any movement, especially like this one, that is so disjointed, right?
Yeah.
That is so again, singular in what the one thing that keeps us all together is that we don't believe in God, right? And so it's like
that's not much.
That's not a lot to hold us all together. So I think it needs to be a series of people, a collection of people who come around, say their piece at the right time, and lead their corner. That's great, right? But I don't need a leader. What? Why?
Yeah.
Right. And so the fact that there was this David Silverman guy who was sort of this de facto character because he was getting on Fox News and he was getting press and media, like, okay, cool. I feel weird about that. And I just feel like the next person would be somebody that I feel weird about again.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's interesting. I think you approached me with this topic. I don't even think you're aware that Dave Silverman's like in the middle of a firestorm right now. Are you even aware of that fact?
A little bit. that's kind of why it hit my radar.
Okay. Because, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, the problem with leaders, the problem with, having a focal point is that if there's anything wrong with that person, it reflects on everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's madness.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I see your point. I definitely see your point. There you go. If you guys have anything you'd like to add to all of this, feel free. We'd love to hear from you. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com is the email address.
Call, leave us a voicemail message.
Yeah, we love that.
The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click on the like button.
And while you're there, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, but we will let you in. Also, find us on Twitter at TGIA Atheist.
Indeed. Hey, speaking of all of those, the social media, thanks so much to Mackenzie for all of her amazing work on the Facebook page. Thanks to Amy and Danny for their work moderating the Members Only Lounge.
And a big thanks goes out to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music, and also to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thank all of you for tuning in. We appreciate you.
Bye-bye.